but just to come in and contribute to a team that is already very good, the La Liga champions, and we're scored more goals than any other side in European football. So I do believe that might be a good fit for both player and club.
So Barcelona have finally got the left winger that they've wanted all summer. They tried to sign Nico Williams, but that didn't work. And it looks like they're going to get Marcus Rashford on loan initially with a potential for a purchase between 30 and 35 million euros at the end of next season. This is an interesting deal because Marcus Rashford, as we know, hugely talented player, but his career has gone off the boil in the last couple of years, and he will come to Barcelona hungry and absolutely desperate to perform. We know he's not in Ruben Amorim's plans. He's now in Hansi Flick's plans, and he's versatile. He can play across the front three. He can play through the middle as well. And it gives that strength in depth that Barcelona were really looking for in the final third. Now, can they register him? That is the key question with all Barcelona signings. Are they able to register him? We understand that it's because it's a loan deal. It should be easier for them to register Marcus Rashford, but they will still need to make a bit of space in the squad. And we do understand that they probably have to get rid of somebody, at least for Marcus Rashford, to be able to come in. But Marcus Rashford on loan to Barcelona, it's an exciting move.
Very interesting, Stefano. Not what I was expecting, but I kind of like it. What do you think? Is this the right move for Rashford?
You know, it was interesting because I was looking at this and I said, why would he be doing this? He's got to have to compete for a job. But at the same time,
I think that's the point.
I think that's the point. I also think it might be good for club and player. Why? Because first of all, this is a World Cup year, so we know it's important. He needs to get playing time. But maybe not having to play 90 minutes week in, week out in every single match for him might keep him fit, keep him performing at a high level. And in that team, he's not going to be expected to score 20 goals. He's not going to be expected to score 25 goals. He can come in, contribute, play some cup matches, play some La Liga matches, get into the Champions League as well. So I do think he's already joining a side that was over the best attack in European football last season. So he has already a bunch of very good players that are going to give him opportunities to score goals and show out for the England. Actually, he's only 27 years old, which is still kind of mind-blowing to me that he's still so young, Marcus Rashford, at this age. But look, he had 11 goals, 8 assists between both of his clubs last season, Manchester United and obviously going on loan to Aston Villa. He wasn't the first, like Phil mentioned there, he wasn't the first option. It was Nico Williams first, but I do think he's now falling into his position that, like I said, the pressure won't be on him as much to be a superstar, but just to come in and contribute to a team that is already very good, the La Liga champions, and we're scored more goals than any other side in European football. So I do believe that might be a good fit for both player and club.
Yeah, I think you used the word expectation there, and I think that's it. Because if he went to another club, if he'd gone back to Villa or some of the other teams that were potentially a level below, I know Manchester United weren't playing at a particularly high level, but a level below that Rashford perhaps feels like he should be playing at, the pressure's on him to perform. He's got to score goals, he's got to assist, otherwise it's been a failure. Whereas he goes to Barcelona, he's getting an opportunity to train with the likes of Yamal, Rafinha, Pedri, all of those great players around him, which you'd think would help to make him even better. Hansi Flick as his manager. And also I think that he's going to enjoy being out of the limelight of Manchester United just like he did at Aston Villa, but not have that pressure to be in the team every week, score goals every time he steps onto the pitch, because he's going to get an opportunity to be behind some of these players. I think it's potentially a great move for his career and could reinvigorate him. With Rashford, I always remember, you know, I was lucky enough to cover him when he first burst onto the scene, and he was electric. There has been very few players, you know, certainly in my time watching the Premier League, that have really set the league alight. That first game against Manchester City where he scored 2 goals, yeah. I mean, the guy, everybody was on their feet, and when he got the ball, he was untouchable. And I think he can get back, maybe he's not going to get back to that level, but he can get back to close to it. And I think that's what Hansi Flick's seen, and Hansi Flick is famous, isn't he, for identifying the talent in players. He's seen that this is a guy who has maybe lost some of that shine, but can get some of it back. And I think it's a really exciting opportunity for him.
I do too. I do think that, like I said, we've talked about Hansi Flick and how much he's been able to get out of the younger players. And, you know, he's not as young as he used to be, but he's still a young player. He's still not a player that's reached, you know, the end of his career by any means. So his goal is to be on the English squad and to, you know, find a new home, because Manchester United was his home for his entire professional career until last season. So this is an opportunity for him, like you mentioned, to play with some fantastic attacking players that are already in this squad and be able to learn, be able to continue to improve his game. And look, he wants to wear that shirt next summer again and wants to be able to do that. And I do believe without that pressure, and again, I think the biggest thing is not having to play 90 minutes every single match in every single competition. Going to keep him fit, and I think will give him the best opportunity to play at the highest level and shine and get back to near to where he was at that time.
And with all these games, they're going to need some backup.
Right.
That's another thing for Hansi Flick and Barcelona. As Phil rightly said there, this was a good move in terms of a loan move for Barcelona because that makes it easier for them to register players. They've had that issue there. But I think it's also a loan is good for Rashford because it puts him in the shop window. Because if he scores some goals, performs well, mixes it well with Rafinha and Yamal and all those other players, even if he doesn't stay at Barcelona because they can't sign him permanently, it puts him in the shop window and some of those other bigger clubs think, oh, well, there's still some gas left in the tank left for Rashford.
Right, and that's why this is a big move for him, like I was mentioning. It's not just about getting ready for the World Cup, but it's also about finding a new long-term home for him as far as club football is concerned. Look, he gave quite a bit to Aston Villa. I mean, it was 9 goal contributions in 17 matches. I mean, that's a good number. So we know it's still there. It's about finding the right spot to be able to shine, and I do think Barcelona is a good spot for him. I do think that he will have success there, enough success that will show, okay, he can still do this, and other teams will be kind of waiting around to see when and if Barcelona can actually make the signing official at the end of the season, whether they want to bring him in full time. We know how much trouble they've had registering players. I mean, what was it? Danny Olmo sat out how many games because he couldn't get registered last year for Barcelona. So that will be an issue, but that's also other clubs just kind of waiting. And if he does well, other clubs will be waiting at the window.
Yeah, believe it when you see it is, I think, the name of the game with transfers for Barcelona. It's an opportunity for him to work with Hansi Flick, and he, at Manchester United's worked with a procession of different managers who've come in. Some have utilised him well. Sometimes he's played well, sometimes he hasn't. Some haven't utilised him that much. He obviously fell out with Ruben Amorim and wasn't in his long-term plans. I do sense as well that not only is this a point to prove for Rashford, but also he'll enjoy working under Hansi Flick, who, as we said earlier, has got that reputation of being able to find the best in players.
Yeah, I love Hansi Flick showed that last year. He's shown that throughout his entire coaching career. But I wanted to ask you, as far as his place in the England squad, obviously so many attacking players for England. Do you still think that he has what it takes to be maybe not a out-and-out starter for England, but to be a player that can very much contribute?
And I think that the player we saw at the end of the season for Aston Villa contributing those goals and assists is a player I would want. He's the Rashford that I would want in the England squad, because even if he's not starting, you mentioned we have a huge embarrassment of riches in terms of the forward players, but to have him to be able to come off the bench and change the game and use that mercurial skill that we saw earlier on in his career to just completely set a stadium alight. He's one of those players that's a difference maker. And I think in the past, and maybe one of the reasons why we haven't been able to do so well at these big competitions is we haven't had enough difference makers. And I hope that he has a good start to the season. If he does eventually sign for Barcelona, can kind of get back to that level and improve and build on what we saw at Villa, because that was a great start. Take that and improve it in one more level or 2 more levels. And I think Rashford will be on that plane for the World Cup over this way next summer. I really hope he makes it.
It is interesting because it does seem like now, and I know Ruben Amorim has brought in a lot of attacking players this summer, and it does seem like Manchester United could use a player like Marcus Rashford, just his experience and how much of a good goal scorer and assist and a creator he can be. It's clearly just a fallout of culture, and maybe he's just done, right? He's just done with the pressure in the club.
That relationship from all perspectives had just reached the end of the road. From Amorim's perspective, from some of the fans' perspective, from his perspective, from the club's perspective as a whole, I just think that was,
the end.
Marcus Rashford at Old Trafford at Manchester United. At the end, it's time to move on, and at least he's got the summer. Whereas in last season he was quickly having to look around in January to find a place to go. He's got the whole summer to assess his options, and it does look like Barcelona is going to be the place that he shows up if it gets done. And we will keep you right up to date here on Scoreline.